Hey, this will be a video chart on ticker symbol LSTS. We'll take a look at the daily time frame. Before I get started, I would like to note to please check my disclaimer. Now, this is one that I've done a couple times in two different forms. The first was just in my general newsletter, talked about it. It was a pending breakout play, and the breakout level was right down here around 20 cents. So you can see with that break, chart is looking that much better ever since getting above 20. And then also just did it a couple weeks ago with another video chart. So if you go back and look through the video archives, you can see the chart then. But after everything that's been going on, back here to update the chart, as it certainly needs an update and is really firing on all cylinders in terms of acting the way you would want to see a chart act. Or let me rephrase, acting the way you would want to see a healthy chart act. And what I mean by that is, lots of stocks can make moves upwards. And I'm not going to say that's not an accomplishment, because it is, but lots of stocks make an upwards price. The true test and true kind of sense of how durable it is during the pullback. Lots of stocks that make, especially when we're talking about stocks that are trading for less than $1. Lots of stocks run up. However, when they pull back, they just keep pulling back and keep pulling back and keep pulling back, and before you know it, they are right back down to where they started, or in some cases they go back, or they go even further down, and all of a sudden there's a new low. So that's really the true strength. How does it react during the pullback? That's the question that needs to be asked from a technical perspective. How does the price, react? How does it act when it starts to pull back and when some profit takers step in? So let's just go through it from that perspective here. And you're probably already seeing what I'm getting at, but here is a move that lots of stocks can do. Again, I'm not saying it's not an accomplishment, because it certainly is, but lots of stocks can make upwards movements. However, what happens during the pullback? Well, right here you can see LSTS is in the process of passing this test with flying colors in a very bullish way. Not only has it put in a higher low, it's bounced exactly, and when I say exactly where you would want to see it bounce from. Remember my breakout alert from if you're a newsletter subscriber, then you know that I alerted it at the 20-cent breakout. So that was a key area of resistance, and look right where it pulled back to. These lows here, 2 days in a row, right at 20 cents. So just a textbook example of resistance turning into a support. And then to compound the bullishness, it also corresponds right with this purple line here, which is a 50-day simple moving average. If you're not familiar with charts, there's kind of two moving averages that I like to call the Godfather moving averages. The first one being the 50-day simple moving average, second one being the 200-day simple moving average. And whenever the price is above these moving averages, you want to see them act as support if they get approached. So you can see it got approached and just totally acted as support, just like you would want to see it act. And this is not my opinion. You could act any chartist. What do you want to see the price do if it pulls back to the 50-day simple moving average? And any chartist is going to tell you, well, you want to see that hold, and ideally you want to see it bounce the price back up off of it. And that's exactly what's been going on here. So big move. Here's the test. Is it going to put in a higher low, or is it going to end up right back down here? Well, very easy to see. Here's our first low. Here's our second one. This one is much higher than that one, so pass with flying colors. And now on top of this, we're at not quite a new high in terms of a high, because back here on the 18th it hit a high of 33.5 cents, but we're at a high in terms of a close. And in my personal opinion, a close is much more important than the high, because this could just be all momentum, but this is staying power in terms of, it was able to maintain and sustain these gains, whereas on this day, it shot up here real quick, but by the end, closed way down here. This day, chugged, got up here, and although it didn't close right at the high, almost closed right at the high, so a beautiful day maintaining and getting a close as high as it's been in a very long time. And then once again, to compound things even more in a bullish sense, check out that volume bar. And don't fall in the trap of saying, well, yeah, that's a big volume bar, but it's not that much bigger than this one, or it's not that much bigger than this one. You got to remember the share price. When this volume bar was being formed, shares were trading below 20 cents. Now, when these volume bars are getting formed, especially on this day, shares are trading for, mid-20s on up above 30. Whereas on this day here, again, shares were trading, higher than back here, but not nearly as high as today. So from a dollar volume perspective, this one, highest share volume and highest dollar volume, both in a very long time. Case in point, you look at a stock that's trading for, half a penny. That could trade millions upon millions of shares a day. Well, that's that's great. But when you look at the dollar volume, if it's only costing a half a penny per share, that can be very misleading. But here, huge volume bar and trading up here in an area where the chart really hasn't traded much, so that dollar volume number is looking great. In terms of resistances, this is where it gets exciting. We're going to have to scrunch up the chart here, but looking back here, you can see we had this area which was at 30 cents act as support. When it did fail there as support, this is just basic technical analysis. You can see it turned into a resistance, although it didn't quite hit it right there, relatively close. Then you can see over the course, actually just we'll zoom back in, but remember where this line comes from. This is a resistance, and then you can see here acted as resistance, acted as resistance. Yes, the price broke above it intraday, but we care about where the close was, so therefore it was still resistance after both these days. However, today the big difference is the price closed up above 30. So as far as I'm concerned, a breakout is now underway. So it's gone from a big move to a pullback to a bounce to now we're at the breakout stage of things. So the next level of resistance, or the next battleground, if you will, is going to be right up here. And that's just simply where this momentum ran out back on the 18th, and it ran out at 33.5 cents. So this will be a level, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a skinny line, because while it is a level of resistance, yes, if this sort of volume and momentum keeps up, this isn't going to put up much of a fight at all. So yes, technically speaking, it is a level of resistance, but skinny red line there, because it is, I don't think, going to put up much of a fight. Now the big one, and kind of the big dog up here, that's going to make big waves when it, if the price can get above here and close above here, is going to be the 200-day simple moving average. That's right now at 36 cents. So any closes above 36 cents, from a technical perspective, that's going to be huge. Just like it was huge when the price finally was able to get back above this purple line down here, the 50. It'll be just as huge, if not huger, because this is the 200-day for the price to start to get some closes up above there. But all in all, great looking chart and great looking. Actually, I just caught this, so I want to make this the example that I first talked about. Big move, and then how does it react on the pullback? Where here is that big move, and then over the course of time, look, the pullback carried it all the way back to where it started. So this is a big difference now here. You can see big move up. However, this pullback is now leading to a higher low instead of this drift downwards to right back to where it started. So I'll be honest, I just caught that, but that makes a perfect example of what I'm talking about and what the big difference now in the chart is. Move up, higher low. Now it's gone from pullback to bounce to breakout right now, so we'll see where it ends. But all in all, a lot of good things about this chart, and you got to love the volume and just how consistent the volume has been. So get this one on your watch list, and let's see how it goes the rest of this week and then into the future too. If there are any other questions on the chart, please let me know. If not, again, this was LSTS. Thanks for listening.